Hello everyone. My god, what a break it's been from the YouTube live. Let's see, when was the last stream? Like 2 freaking weeks ago. Everything changed when the Fire Nation attacked and forced me to actually like get a real job. It's crazy. But it's been 2 weeks of me having, you know, real life kind of come up and actually like demand my time. So apologies for that, but hey, at least I make money now. That's changed. That's good news. Make some money now. So, you know, it should be easier to keep traveling and buying sets and play other decks that aren't just Levia. I can finally start replacing some of the things I lost coming back from France. That'll finally be nice. That will be nice. But how's everyone doing? I see some early arrivals in the chat. Thomas, what's up? Levi, what's up? Good to see you as always, Levi. I was actually just watching in the background at work, OK and Y. I was catching up on some of their games. They've just got tons and tons of Arachne gameplay. And poor Sam was getting beat up on in like half these videos. Especially in this one. He's just salty as can be about losing to Iyslander. It reminded me of you guys. You're probably the one who instilled the fear of Iyslander in him from the get-go. Oi. Oh, live chat. You can hear me, right? It's been a second. Yeah, okay, my mic is coming through. There we go, Levi. Yeah, Sam hates Iyslander. Yeah, this was rough to watch. He got pretty close. I think he won like 1 out of their 4 or 5 games. Oh wait, no, this wasn't it. Where was it? The Reinar game. Yeah, this is also Sam. Poor Sam. One baseman Sam. I think he wins like 1 of them, which is, you know, props to him. But wait, no, this isn't it either. Oh, this is... Where's Reinar versus Iyslander? This one. Here we go. We're catching up. I honestly like watched almost all of them today, so they're all blurring together. But this is the one I'm talking about. Anyway, today the plan, and he does not enjoy losing to it. Yeah, I don't think anyone does. As you've seen in the Clash tournaments that have been playing out here, Iyslander is just an absolute menace. It's looking like incredibly unfun. Like I don't see how anyone enjoys Iyslander in like a small health format at this power level. Like I think she really, in Clash specifically, we should probably adhere to the Blitz ban list now just to knock her down a peg, because she's just pretty insane. But yeah. All right, enough Iyslander. The plan for today's stream was to actually do some Levia coaching. We've got a League of Levia member, T, who has been hitting me up for some while now about Levia questions, some Levia coaching, and I've just been very busy, but I wanted to make sure he got the time, and it'd be kind of interesting to do coaching in general. Just don't really see myself as a professional or a coach in any capacity, but if there's someone who plays a lot of Levia, it is me. So I guess if you want to ask a lot of questions about Levia and, you know, get someone else's POV, then hey, maybe I'm the right person to do it. So we're going to try a little bit of that live. We got T jumping in a second, and we're just going to talk about Levia coming into the PQ season. He wants to play some games and run through some lines, so we'll do that. You know, just try out a bunch of things today. I'm not sure I'm exactly ready to jump into Talishar anyway. I played like 1 warm-up game, and it was Dromai versus Viscerai, and I did win, which was kind of nuts. Like, that was actually a really good game. Wish I was streaming Viscerai into Dromai. It's normally pretty tough for the Dromai, but I secured the win. In fact, check this out. In the background, I'm throwing myself at a couple Dromai games here and there, you know? Still not a pro, but look at this win rate. 90% win rate so far. Granted, it's Talishar. Granted, it is Talishar. But 18 wins, 2 losses. That's pretty darn nice, because I really like this list. This is something that, like, I kind of... Oops, where is it? It's like a build that I've been trying to force. Like, it's a little bit of some split ideas feeding into it. But, you know, I really just wanted to try the new Red Dust, and it's been working out. And we've got some spice, like these 1-up potions, just a couple snatch here and there, or miraging, why not? And it's just a beautiful deck. It's been working really, really well, even into aggro. Just the addition of like 2 red snatch, the 1 miraging metamorph, the E-strikes, like those have been very nice. Anyway, enough about Dromai, enough about Iyslander, enough about Dromai. This is Levia chat. So I'm gonna jump in a call with T real quick, and we'll get started. What's up, Josh? Hello. Morning, Sant. Nice to see that you have some time to stream again. Hey, Josh. Morning for y'all in New Zealand, is it? that makes sense. I haven't really looked up time in New Zealand. I know this time is like kind of rough because it's just the end of the workday for most of the US and then like nighttime for EU, but it may just be all I can do. We'll try to push some things around with the work schedule maybe and free up like 2 hours in the middle of the day. That'd be kind of nice. Just jump on, take like an extended lunch break, then like work a little later or work a little earlier. Because I don't want to give up on streaming. I was having a lot of fun, and then to just like cut it off because of work kind of sucks. So, especially with like the new life I'm trying to breathe into the channel with some of these updated thumbnails. I freaking love this thumbnail. And just some of the updated editing. Like, streaming is just an easy way to keep feeding in content if I don't have time for other more edited videos. But okay, let me jump into this call with T and make sure y'all can hear him. I'll probably turn off the music for this part as well, just so you can hear it a little bit better. All right, T, you hear me?
Yeah, can you hear me okay?
Yes, I see your audio levels coming through on Discord as well, I think. So, stream, you'll have to let me know if you can't hear T, but I think I can hear T. Wait, say one more thing just to make sure.
Mic check, 1 2 1 2.
Okay, yeah, seems good to me. All right. Well, hey, pleasure to have you on the stream here. It's been almost, I don't even know, man, probably like 6 months or something since you first asked about trying to get some coaching underway. So apologies for how long it took, but at least we're in a bit of an off season, right? Like ProQuest hasn't started yet, so there's probably some time.
Yeah, no need to apologize. I mean, let's be honest. A stranger blind messaged you and asked you for your time on the internet, and it took you 6 months to reply. I think that's still really good. So since then, we did meet at Battlehard in Denver, which is cool. You signed my German clause, and
oh, that was you. Oh, hell yeah. Oh, yeah, I remember that. Remember that well. Okay, awesome, T. Good, now I have a name to the face then. Very cool.
Yep, there we go.
All right, well, hey, this is all about you, man. Like, what do you need help with Levia? What's the easy way for us to get started into this coaching here? Did you want to try a game and use that to base some discussion off of, or you just want to tell me about your like local meta and things you've been thinking about?
Yeah, I'd love to start first with where you kind of see her in the meta in general. I mean, I guess what's drawn me to the deck is it's just been incredibly fun. I know we were just talking about how horrible Iyslander players are, and that's what I focused on leading up to that. You know, I've only been playing since about when I messaged you, so since when Uprising started. You know, I've won a handful of armories with Iyslander, and then I switched over. I've actually been lucky enough, I've won a handful of armories with Levia now.
Hell yeah.
It's just an incredible amount of fun, and I'm just looking like, is she viable for me to like try to top 8 my local? What should I be looking at? Are there dynasty cards I should be considering? It's kind of all over the place. I saw your Berserk deck. I'm 1 and 3 with it, but it was a lot of fun when it worked.
No.
Look, just kind of getting your feel on the meta.
Look at the sad state of this Berserk deck. I should have like locked however people record results with it. I don't really know how this works on February, but when I posted this, I had like a 70-something% win rate. Like it was going great. Like not. It's hard to say that's not amazing, like, because mathematically, like, yes, that's a great win rate, but it is Talishar, so I try to, like, you know, subtract, like, you know, 30% of those are probably not real wins. So, you know, it was like 50% win rate deck. Like, I was pretty happy with that. 70% on paper, but then as soon as people took the deck list from the YouTube video, hey, T, oh, look at you. Look at that donation live right there. Thank you, man. We got some wind in the sails now. This will be, I'm going to give it my all, man. But hey, this win rate tanked. Do you see this? This is these are all the 1 and 3s that people like you are adding to the deck list, man. What the heck?
Happy to help.
Yeah. But no, look, the Berserk list, I pushed it out there because it needed to be done, right? Like, I'm the Levia dude, and I used to just be way more consistent about these like random Levia deck lists. So I had to just put something out there, and this was like the Berserk build I had been playing. Now, it's one of those decks where you're trying to just get a feel for if a card like Berserk is good. So you're just adding all the eggs in that basket, right? Like, just let's trigger Berserk, let's build around this card. And for that, you know, that's what the ratios are built around. It's just a Berserk heavy deck. Do I think that's really Levia going forward? Probably not, because Berserk is one of those cards that's going to elevate the really good phases of the game potentially like a little bit higher. It's going to turn like a good hand S tier, right? Like it's adding that extra bit of, oh, my hand was already nuts. Here's some extra cards to like maybe, reset my arsenal at the end of this turn, or, cheat in some damage with a deep rooted or like an extra attack here and there. But it's not going to just save a middling hand. Like Berserk is definitely not that kind of card. And actually, I feel like Levia was in need of not this injection of power. She doesn't need her insane cards, her insane hands to be even better, because she can set up really strong engines to make her good hands, come from the Banished Zone, like with double howls or things like that. She needs a little bit more ways to make her weak hands not just like instant lose the game. And so like Berserk's just not that card. But it's been fun to play around with, but don't take too much from this deck list. Like you can abandon it, man, like for sure. So what kind of playstyle like normally do you go for in Levia?
Yeah, I mean, to me, there's basically, if we exclude Berserk, because Berserk innately is card disadvantaged unless you discard 2 cards and get 2 hits, right? But
yep.
I mean, basically for Levia, you end up with basically 2 core mechanics, right? You have a recursion mechanic when basically it's how many times can I howl you? And I'm drastically oversimplifying. And I forget the gentleman's name from Greece, but he basically has the
Vasily.
10% 12 every round. Yep. And I think those are the 2 kind of mechanics I've messed around with more. And Vasily's list is interesting. It feels a little like Berserk, where it's a little high rolly. Like, am I hitting Pulping? Am I hitting Wild Ride? Am I able to, 6 Claw, get a Boneyard at the end of it? But I mean, those are the 2 things I've messed around with. Do you think I'm missing an archetype?
I mean, you don't really have to count Club Levia, because that's not really anything to do with her or Brute or anything. And I wouldn't even consider that like a real part of the meta, because it was there to try to counter like Starvo and Chain. So no, it really is those 2 axes. Like you play for just consistent aggressive hands to make your average hand still deal 12. And if you can do that, that's not necessarily the best rate, right? Because you're just turning maybe 4 cards into 12 damage, 3 damage per card. Not ideal, but if you can do that even consistently, then when you spike on your really high damage turns, or you go off with like, Blood Rush, Pulping, hitting Beast Within, whatever it is, when those damage turns spike, then the consistency of having 12, 12, 12 really ramps up, because all of a sudden, like, boom, lethal. After just like 2 turns of 12, you just dump like 20 on them, whatever it is, right? So you've got that side of Levia, for sure. And then you've got the recursion side you mentioned, which is still my favorite way to try to chase after making this deck sing, because it's just the unique mechanic that Levia has access to. The now that Chain's gone, the Banished Zone replayables, and how secure you can feel when running that engine into kind of like, I don't want to call them like brain dead game plan decks, but like something like Oldhim or Bravo against even like the super aggressive Levia decks. They can just say, oh, I'll wait for you to stumble, and you lose, because Levia will stumble. But if you build around recursion, you're way less likely to. Your early game might be slow, but then you ramp into just like a damage machine. So I definitely do prefer that version. But that's really where they sit. You can't really hybridize both truly, because they take very different cores. And with the recursion deck, if you start adding in like the draw discard package, that kind of becomes like your entire sideboard, and you just don't get like any other flex spots. But you can try to kind of hybridize in that path. But no, that's really the 2 ways. So what's your like local metagame? Like, what are you trying to target when you're bringing Levia to an event?
Yeah, first I want to say I actually fatigued 2 Oldhims in an armory 2 weeks ago with recursion Levia. I thought you'd appreciate that.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, the local meta is pretty diverse. Obviously, we have Team Ascent out here in Denver. They've kind of settled in as Dash is the best deck.
Yep.
So, and I'm not disagreeing with them. So a lot of Dash out there. And that's one of the reasons I think Brute might have legs, right? We obviously have some, Arg Smash is a really good card. And I've messed around with Smashing Good Time as well, which is a little clunky because of the Arsenal thing, but it can definitely get there if we're pushing something heavy over the top. So, I mean, I'm worried about Dash. I figure if I can have a deck that at least has a decent game in the Dash, I'm willing to try it into the rest of the meta. And then the counter to Dash is the bane of my existence, which is Bravo. A lot of other locals have switched to Bravo to beat Dash, and Bravo is my least. I have the absolute lowest win percentage into Bravo of anything, which is kind of shocking when I checked it. It is just such a hard matchup. I feel like I get Bravo down to like, we're both in the teens, and then I just lose everything from there. It's their ability to make me die from my own blood debt, or just basically force me to block. Yeah, I don't know. Bravo's horrible, but those are the things I'm currently concerned with.
Well, those are definitely 2 those are 2 pretty intense pain points. Not gonna lie, like Bravo is Bravo actually was probably the reason I stuck with Levia when I was still brand new, because that matchup felt so unwinnable because of me. Like, I felt like I was doing something wrong because most of the self kills were just the fragility of Levia, where it's like, okay, Bravo's doing his thing like so consistently, and then at some point in the game, like, I'm just blowing up and losing. But up until that point, like, it actually felt pretty good. So how do I chase that end game? How do I actually like close before I just self implode or he gets like his last big hit effect off, on and on. And so it was like a bit of a puzzle to unlock when I was really new at the game. And now I actually love the Bravo matchup. I think Terror Sunder specifically is absolute bullshit. That card should not have been printed. But other than that, like, everything else about that matchup, I really, really love like the back and forth in there. And I don't know if you can see the stream right now, but there's an amazing game from the event we were both at, that PTI event in Denver, where I was on stream versus Edward Knight. And Edward Knight was playing Bravo. And I don't know if you follow this guy on like Twitter or if you know the name, but he's a Bravo player who claims like, you know, he's like the American Cale McCree. Like, you can't touch him. His Bravo's insane. His win rate's like, you know, 60-1, whatever, when you check in on his stream. Like, he goes nuts for Bravo. And we got to play on stream here, and it was like one of the best games I've ever played in Flesh and Blood. It was just a masterclass of being like finding the exact key moments of like when to punish Bravo. And it's not just like draw cards off the top, dump them, draw cards off the top, dump them, which is unfortunately like what a Vasily type build like the aggro Levia just kind of has to do for a huge part of the game. But that's still just not easy. Like, there's no easy answer to just say, okay, like, take this build and you'll beat Bravo, but it's definitely safer to go the recursion route, because you can basically force them to try to play with maybe a little bit of subpar hands on their end early, because they know that there's an inevitability coming. So they really don't get that much time to launch, you know, a pummel crippling play late game with recursion setting up like even a little bit early in your game plan at all. So I still prefer that for sure into Bravo. And there's a deck list here I'm going to pull up on stream as well. So this was the build I took to the PTI event in Philadelphia. I was streaming the actual Battle Hardened, but I went ahead and played in the PTI event, and I didn't have much of a game plan for that day. Like, I didn't know what the meta was going to be. I didn't have like a real build I was going to play because I thought I was going to stream it. But we showed up, and I took like a recursion Levia that was built to pivot and just take Arc Smash and Fatigue Dash. And I faced 2 Dash, and it just worked beautifully. There's just nothing they can do if you say, okay, I'm running 3 Arc Smash and I'm running Gambler's Gloves. Like, I'm going to blow up probably 6 items. Like, there's just nothing you can do. And you decide out all your non-blocks, and you just play that way. So I think some list like this one that I've got on stream, I'll link it to you as well, is probably the right place to start looking at for a Bravo / Dash prepared Levia. It's not going to be the most interesting Dash matchup, but you were already kind of, you had that right inclination as well. That like, yeah, like maybe you just can't race, so it's an Arc Smash type game. So if you're okay to play it, then yeah, you definitely can.
Yeah, at first I loved that stream review versus Bravo. I remember watching it, and then I was like, okay, maybe I feel better into Bravo. And then I still got crushed in my next Bravo game, but that's okay. That just happens sometimes. I was playing, like you said, the other list, and I felt like I did just have to jam cards into their face and see how it goes, which is why the recursion list has been more interesting. It's just, like you said, right? When you get crippling crushed or pummeled, and then you take 24 from Blood Dead, it just feels bad.
Yep. I mean, it's that matchup is really about navigating to force their life down to never pull that off when you can't handle it. Like, you can force their hand in a position where, and it comes up in that Bravo game, where this is kind of the last chance they'll be able to crippling pummel, and you just force them to play it out. And you can get really lucky and have things like Art of War potentially to really just kind of negate it, or like an unmovable in Arsenal. But that tends to be where you have to just commit your entire like armor suite, commit some of your defensive tools. And if you survive that one point in the game, you should be able to, with the ability to turn even your bad hands into 12-ish damage because of the Howl loop, just say you never keep enough to threaten again. You never do. Terror Sunder is like the one card that messes that up, because on a 3-card hand, they can do that. So what breaks that trade pattern is, like, you know, you're pushing them down to near lethal range, but then they find the opportunity to just like arsenal one card at some point to tear asunder, and then they block with 2 cards, like armor pivot, keep 2 cards, and then all of a sudden their hand is, double blue for tear asunder or Nothos, and that just feels awful. That's like the one line you cannot beat in a Bravo late game. There's nothing you can do about it. But you can do everything else in your power to, force down. You can't keep X amount of cards again and again and again. It just comes down to, as you definitely know, like smart arsenal use of attacks and setting up your howls, which is not like, that's not a skill ask. That's just, did you get them there or not? Which is always the issue, because sometimes you just don't get them there, and that's just going to be the nature of the beast. But that's really, I don't know about like specific tips, because the issue is Levi is like always going to be a glass cannon, like especially with the blood debt builds. Is it's hard to just say wait for X, hold for Y, because you're going to be forced into opportunities that are not necessarily optimal, but you need to take them to turn off blood debt or whatever it is. So I think, try to beat Bravo, go 2 different routes with it. Try the slower, bring in 2 EPOT plan, set those up and see if that helps you in your like mid and late game against a Bravo, or take like the 1 unmovable, the Art of Wars, try to go that defensive route and just see which one you like more. Cause I've also waffled there. Do I prefer EPOTs to actually just be able to take the cripplings and pummels and play out an attack from Arsenal off the EPOT? Or do I want the potential to just overblock on their potential big last swing and stick out the game through that? So I don't know which is better. So I would suggest like try both those routes, because you need to do something. You can't just play a normal Levia game and beat Bravo. Like it is awful. I agree.
Well, I do have a couple questions about that deck list.
Yeah.
I stole that list from you a while ago. So just generally, can you talk a little bit more about Rouse the Ancients? And can you talk about why I only ever see 2 Howl from Beyond instead of 3?
Yeah, I mean, the Rouse from the Ancients thing, I'm still not entirely sold on liking it, but I'd say it procs. It's like a blue that's pretty much safe in Arsenal, is the reason that I keep trying it and running it, because there are pretty much no other blues that feel good in that position of, oh, my hand was weird after a draw with Art of War or off of Blood Rush, and I've got these like this extra card to Arsenal, which does come up, or like, after Shadow Blazonfet, whenever there's a draw incorporated in part of your turn, if you end up with a blue at the end of it, it basically forces your crown at some point to replace that card, because none of the other ones are really playable out of Arsenal for good value. Like, Blue Dread Screamer, Blue Endless, they can also try to fill that void. But Rouse is just an extra step to try to give yourself an option there. And of course, you can banish it with Art of War, but it's not a card I'm super in love with. I keep just adding 3 to my list because I want to see if I really like it or not. So I want to see it more. And with that, you can kind of tell how I approach events. Even if I don't know the card, I'm going to add 3 to my list, because I need to be able to make the choice next time. Do I like it enough or not? And I believe after this event, I'd probably go down to 2, or maybe even just 1, and then just cut the yellow wrecker entirely. Because that was another like quasi idea forming, was, a blue that you're pitching. How are you going to trigger it when it comes back through your pitch stack? Because a recursion deck is going to probably see your pitch stack. Well, if you pitch it next to a yellow Rouse or a yellow Wrecker Romp, then that's a pretty likely way to even in second cycle trigger Rouse. And that didn't really come up either. So no, I wouldn't actually jam 3 and a yellow Wrecker going forward, but it was something to try, right? Any questions on that?
Well, my experience is basically been what you said. It just feels like a golf club card. Like sometimes it feels amazing, and the rest of the time it just kind of clogs up my arsenal, and I'm not sure how to deal with it. The other thing is, I think you hit on it in a previous, like it costing 3 is just so clunky sometimes. It's like I can get the Rouse, but then what else am I doing for the rest of my turn?
Well, actually, I don't mind that it costs 3, because this deck is going to be built to, the recursion lists are blue heavy, because you want to be able to howl into attack, right? So with those extra blues in deck, if this is an early phase of the game, then using your blue to throw Rouse and then following up with any of your 2-cost attacks or even 3-cost attacks, like the Endless Maws, Deadwoods, Swing Bigs, Writhing, like Hungering, all those are going to be in your hand, right? Because you will have triggered Rouse. So if it's a Rouse turn, then you also throw this. And with some of the yellow 6s. Oh, you know what? This list is actually kind of bad. It doesn't have yellow Hungering Slaughter Beast. Yeah, all right, this one was not fine-tuned, but I would definitely run like yellow Hungering Slaughter Beast, yellow Graveling Growl next to the Rouse package, because you want to use your blue on the Rouse, use your yellow that you revealed next to your like Hungering Slaughter Beast, swing big, those cards, pitch the yellow for it, swing. So this actually, I'm not sure I ever even triggered Rouse with this list in particular, but it's an early game type of card. It's a way to throw damage that your deck is built resource-wise to use for Howls that you just don't have yet, is why I wouldn't get scared off of like the 3 cost specifically. But no, you know what? I'm not telling you to use this card. I'm having deep questions myself right now about it. maybe two.
That makes more sense. I'd been playing it as a pitch stack card, to be clear. I had a similar thing to you. I'm like, I'm going to pitch Rouse next to a red Ghoul, right? Or next to a red Rumbler or something like that, right? Just so the odds of me being able to play it on the second cycle were higher. But I can try running it out early, because you're right. On second cycle, I have access to Howl, so I don't necessarily need it.
Yeah, it just becomes like Art of War. Banish fodder is another thing when you're throwing it second cycle, because you want to. One of the issues with recursion specifically is like Art of War doesn't want to banish your Hungerings, your Writhings, like your anything that actually banishes 3 itself. You don't want those to be your banish targets with Art of War, because those are what's helping you with your Howl loop. So you do need some like extra fluff to just get rid of with Art of War. So like late game Beast Withins, late game Shadow Blastvet, those tend to be pretty good. Rouse is just like an extra target as well. It's not going to turn off Blood Debt, but like the rest of your turn probably doesn't. Or I mean, you die, right? So hopefully you had something in arsenal or like an extra attack you're already planning for. But yeah, definitely we can shift that slot over to something if you still want to stick with recursion. You just need the blues, right? Like you need that core blue base, because you can otherwise get stuck with, oh, I've set up my Howl loop, I've got my 1 card left over in graveyard from the next turn, I'm going to draw up my hand, and if you brick, triple reds or something in that kind of position, you lose. That it really does add an extra lose condition entirely, because you're putting yourself in a spot to always cast double Howl, double Howl, double Howl, and if you can't, and your opponent's in the blockout state, and then you just draw the resources to not be able to pay for it, then that's your own lose condition. So you have to always juice up the blue count in a recursion based list. I normally go for like 21 is kind of my where I'm shooting for.
Okay, yeah, I definitely wasn't running that many blues. So that's good to know. I can definitely tweak my recursion deck around that. So no, that was really helpful. So I mean, like you said, I guess reminding yourself that its floor is it's a blue 2 block is something to remember.
Yeah, which is actually I mean, that's reason to change it as well. Just the 2 block is normally not the biggest deal, because you're forced to keep a blue in hand. Like you need a resource card every turn cycle, right? Like it's recursion Levia, you've got a lot of blood debt. You need to be able to turn it off. So that means at minimum, you're keeping like a resource card and an attack. So most of the time, like you probably don't feel like the weak blue, because that's just going to be the one you keep. But yeah, it definitely can come up early game, right? The fact that it's a 2 block. So yeah, shift that over. Probably like blue Unworldly is pretty strong. Blue Convulsions is another really good one when you're running the double count of Graveling Growl, because that's a 3-card hand dominate to just close the game, which always feels pretty good. But as far as like another blue attack, you'd really be stretching it to try to work that in, because in this list specifically, it's already got like the blue Deadwood, the blue Dread, and then that extra sprinkling of blue Endless, and that tends to be like, what blue attacks can you afford to take after that aren't just like completely ass for the deck? Maybe blue Boneyard, but now that slot just might have to change. Yeah. But you also mentioned why not 3 Howl? Honestly, I don't think I've ever played with 3 Howl, because you have Shadow of Blazafet in the deck, right? So if your deck is built around pulling out and maintaining a double Howl loop, and you've got 3 tutors for it, then I'd rather just always bump up the tutors and control the exact amount of Howls you need, because Howl is a terrible card to draw. Like this card sucks in hand. There are those critical moments where, first of all, it's a red 2 block that from hand is the worst rate ever. Like if you're playing this from hand, you have done something wrong. I'd rather throw this in Arsenal and just hope I get CNC'd than actually like cast this out in hand. You know, it is 2 resources for 3 damage out of hand. That you don't want to be doing that. Because of that, you know, I just want to minimize those situations. I'd rather see a shadow early, because a shadow, even if it doesn't hit and pull the howl, you know, I've at least thinned another card to my next shadow, help fill the graveyard as well, right? So there's like those little synergy pieces coming up. No, I've never tried 3 howls, so I guess I can't really like speak to how bad it feels, but I'm very comfortable at, you know, 3 tutors, 2 targets. That's just always been. Have you tried 3? Like, have you liked that, or?
No, I just considered it. I've had a couple shadows miss early game, but I think I just need to be more patient, right? Like I said, we're a second cycle deck. There's no reason to rush the howls out there.
No, I wouldn't.
Again, it was just something I noticed.
I wouldn't say we're second cycle at all. You need to be cognizant of keeping around threat density in second cycle, because with the consistency of getting howls, your opponent can just kind of like say, oh shoot, like I just don't out damage this. I'll do the thing against Levia where I block and hope they stumble. And so it's up to you to never let yourself stumble from a winning position and actually make your pitch stack strong enough to win. And that's where like Art of War can become just an MVP card, like in your pitch stack specifically, when people are trying that strategy into you. You know, I like, you can't really survive an entire first cycle through the deck just setting up for second cycle. You've got enough non-blocks that's just not feasible. And if you ever try to take like a tempo play, then even 1 or 2 ticks of blood debt, losing a husk or something like that, those are now life you need to start mitigating and turning off, because a game with Levia is like always going to be a game of inches. If you can survive 1 unfortunate blood debt hit on yourself, you probably win the game. Like at that same Denver event, I took 23 blood debt against an Oldhim. I survived at 2 HP and I won the game. Like, you just, you know, it's all about, you don't shrug off any amount of damage with Levia. Your life is truly a resource, not just from taking hits on your opponent, but also being able to mitigate your own bad luck or bad hands, whatever it may be.
Okay, yeah, and maybe that was one of the issues I was having with the recursion package, right? Like I said, I fatigued and old him with it, right? Which is obviously means like I am playing at a much different rate than what you just described. And like I said, I was trying to set up these rouses for the second pitch.
No, which you can definitely do. Like against an old him, you know, if they're not playing aggressive from the get-go, sure, that's a lot of room to do so. But just don't forget that, you know, you have very oppressive small hands that you can abuse even before Howl. So if an opponent is taking it slow, you can still, you know, trade with them a little bit, get your 2-card hands to show the value that they're supposed to have, with like Dread Ghostly or 3-card hand of Dread Graveling, 2-card hand of Endless Maw. Like those are still really above rate plays, but they're only going to feel that way if you've actually traded a little bit and, you know, have your opponent spend cards for their amount of damage that you then say, well, my smaller amount of cards deals more than that. So those are still plays you want to make to show the power that Levia has, because just keeping everything to try to just recur howls nonstop, that's not like it's an amazing rate where you can get it specifically off blue 2-cost attack, but it's not anything special. Like it's just going to be raw damage forever, right? But to really make Levia sing is to put on insane 3-card hand 13, 2-card hand for 9. Like those plays are still so strong compared to what other decks can do. And you need to play those out as you see them. That's going to buy you life to be able to, you know, have that slower start to get your graveyard rolling, to get your howls where you need them to be. Does that make sense?
No, it makes a ton of sense. And like I said, it's actually really insightful, right? Like I don't know how many games it would have taken me, if that makes sense, just playing Levia to figure this all out myself. And that's why I appreciate you taking the time. I'll definitely tweak the deck around and kind of let you know how it goes. The last question I have here, because probably won't have time to play a game, that's totally fine with me, is like, is there anything from Dynasty I should be considering?
Yeah, I mean, from Dynasty, the main thing to consider is how the metagame changes, right? More so than what it did for Levia, because I really don't like, if you want to add that high roll ceiling in, then sure, you know, add like 2 copies of Berserk to like an aggressive Levia list, sure. But to really build like just a full on out aggro Levia, I still just don't think is going to give you better wins. Like it just won't. It's like aggro Levia has already been like solved to a point with like how Vasily plays it that is really strong. Like if you want to play that kind of Levia, that is about consistent 12 damage hands, and it spikes when like a Levia deck would normally spike Blood Rush, that kind of thing. To that kind of list, add like 2 copies of Berserk, and that's probably all you need to do. Because the list is still going to have its like 12 damage consistency, and then when it spikes, you've got that extra opportunity now with Berserk to maybe go a little bit higher. But I wouldn't break down a Levia deck to really force to be played around Berserk and expect it to be kind of better than that playstyle. No. So that's really the only like new card. We got like Skullcracks in there. I'm not in love with Skullcrack, but you know, it's an option. I just think it fights for space really hard in a Levia deck because it's a red, and your red slots fill up pretty quickly when you start adding like your powerful cards, like the cards that make you identifiably like a Levia deck. You start adding like the Endless Maw, Dread Screamer, Graveling Growl, Boneyard, your Pulpings, your Wild Rides, like those eat your red slots up, right? And then to add Skullcrack on top of that is a little tricky. I'm not saying it's like not good enough. I personally haven't felt the card do enough for me to like really sing its praises, but for now I'm still throwing 3 of it in my decks because I just want to like see what it does. And the reality is there's not much control over when that card is good. It's just another kind of lucky card. But if you want, like, right, like you've got some extra slots to fill, like Berserk has a 2 of, and then maybe like some Skullcracks on top. But it's really the meta, right? So you mentioned in your area you think it's going to be a lot of dash, and then you're personally scared of Bravo. Do you think it's actually going to be a lot of Bravo?
I mean, we had 4 Bravos at our last armory. Our armories aren't that big. We're only 20 to 24 people.
Oh, that's pretty nuts though. Come on, most places are like 10 or less.
I mean, I have no frame of reference, so
okay.
Coming from Magic, they're not that big. How about that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think Bravo is definitely something that should be factored.
Okay. Well, then I think we already looked at it. Then I had this whole breakdown ready to go, where we start like piecing out like what heroes you're afraid of and how we target. But we can still talk through that. So basically, some version of like a very very trimmed version of like a recursion deck that tries to be able to sideboard out as many non-blocks as possible to beat dash, and then also throw in your choice of Bravo tech, whether it's like an unmovable and Skull Crushers or like 2 E-Pots. Those are things you can add that should help. Like it, but it's normally one route or another. Don't go like gung-ho on beating Bravo and add like double E-Pot, double unmovable, your extra Iron Rod. I've tried that before. It's miserable. You still need your deck to be really consistent, and you need to just hope that the little bit of extra tech that you lined up for their one turn actually does what it's supposed to. So, you pick your route on that, but I wouldn't dedicate more than like 2 slots specifically for Bravo with like a recursion core. But the good news is...
Oh, sorry.
Oh, I was going to say, the good news is, like, I think these are both decks you can very easily handle with a Levia build that you feel comfortable with, like with some version of recursion, like absolutely. Lexi, though. Lexi is another problem. You need to be more aggro-centric to beat Lexi. Now, with recursion, it's very difficult for you to shore up your own weakness of my early game is weak and also be able to beat Lexi. Like, because it's just, that doesn't make sense. How can you have a weak early game and also expect to beat a Ranger? Like, you need to be able to put on pressure points throughout the entire game to beat a Ranger, because a Ranger will slip up. Like, a Ranger has inconsistencies as you do. They're just not specifically locked to a phase of the game. It'll just be on the draw. So you need to be able to just out of the gate pressure Alexi. And for that, a recursion deck is really going to suffer. You can try to play it slow with, smart blocks, not trying to ramp up blood debt, throwing in, like a Deadwood Rumbler hand, a swing big hand, to just trade good damage. And then when they naturally stumble with like some strong Dread Screamer or like Endless Maw, Art of War, Blood Rush, whatever you've been cooking up in Arsenal, you try to use that pivot and if it's enough damage, you can take over the game. That is like not the most consistent way to do it, but that is what you might be forced into on a recursion deck. And it does, like it can work. It can work. But really what you want is to try to focus more towards like a lower blood debt aggressive build if you want to just steamroll Ranger, like literally not give him room to breathe. It's insane. If you play like a Vasily version of Levia and just present even 12 per hand, 12 per hand, 12 per hand, and also have the equipment you do, like Husk and Scabs and Crown, like Ranger just doesn't win. It's very rough because you're just consistently throwing damage. If you've been slowed down a bit by Frostbite or hit effect here and there, maybe all you did is 6. But you got to remember, you basically get two turns of the game where you decide the pivot yourself just because of the armor that's on the table. And Lexi never gets to do that with her own armor. Her armor is really not for pivoting. It's to just hopefully keep her one turn closer in the game, late game, when she's just like forced to crack it down. So you can pretty easily pull ahead, but it's not it's not Levia, right? It's the build. It's the recursion has to do it in its own way. Aggro gets it a lot easier. But if you need to sprinkle in a bit to try to help in a recursion deck, then something like even pulping, even just 3 copies of pulping might be enough to do it, because pulping will just have go again unless they block with exactly 2. And so even if you miss, even if the ratios are off in your deck and you just throw a pulping and it doesn't discard a 6, that's still a big choice for Lexi to say, oh God, well, do I throw like 2 cards here just to turn off their go again? But then my turn can't be nuts, because Lexi will just have like whatever's in arsenal and 2 cards in hand. And then you probably get enough room now because you were planning for a pulping turn to buy your arsenal and go bigger. So probably 3 pulping is good enough, but I haven't tried that. Just off the top here.
No, I think it's a good place to land. Like I said, again, one of the local Team Ascent players is on Lexi, so I don't expect to see her a lot, but he won Sunday's Armory, and it was a really good deck. It's interesting how that deck can pivot from like Lightning to Frost now. I think it's pretty cool.
Oh, God. I mean, there's nothing you can do about like Arctic Incarceration. That card getting played, 3 of red right now is really rough. That's going to put a hamper on either game plan, but it just is what it is. That card is incredibly scary because they can end their turn with it and just shoot arrow, shoot arrow, shoot arrow. And instead of like saying +1, they just get go again on their last one and drop an Arctic. And in the right spot, like that is just going to lose you the game. There's not much you can do to outplay like that one, but at least you probably see it at some point because it's likely going to be like part of their fuse turn if they're shooting the ice arrows at you. But hey, if that happens, it happens. Like I'm more scared of that than Art of Wars, than 3 of a Kinds. Like that's going to be the card that really messes you up. So all power to you if you face it.
Yeah, the 4/5 sprites is pretty impressive. Do you have any general tips for Iyslander? I know you've played pretty well into Iyslander in Denver, if I remember correctly, but just the Ice Veins, again, is just something that's... I feel like if I can get out early on Iyslander, I'm fine, but if we end up stalling or stumbling, it just...
Yeah.
Horrible real fast.
Iyslander is another issue for like a pure recursion deck because they just have so much free time to, find Insidious, find their amulets, poke you down with Arcane that you can't fully block, like they just go a bit too tall. And they get room to do that mostly because, you lack proactive graveyard fill. You can try to add something like Meat Axe and that can be okay, but at the same time, I'd almost rather just take Claws anyway, and then if I can find early Blood Rush, like that's going to fill the graveyard +2, right? The card you discard, the Blood Rush itself. So I would still try to just take Claws and just kind of hope you draw some of your playables early. Or if you're bringing in like the Pulpings to face Alexi, then they would also go in there, and that could probably help the recursion list. But for the aggro matchup, or for like the aggro Levia list, Iyslander just gets absolutely steamrolled. It is that matchup is very easy. Like I think the Icelanders are very surprised when they lose as quickly as they do to like an aggro Levia, because in theory, they can drop a Hypothermia, they can like Blizzard you at the right time, they can Channel Lake you, and those scenarios sound awful, and they most likely are. But if you shorten the game and you concentrate it down to presenting enough damage to lethal Iyslander by like turn 3, which is what like an aggro Levia can do, then where were their opportunities to stumble you? They didn't get them, right? Like if you can just concentrate the game down as fast as possible, Iyslander gets less and less breathing room, and they're forced to make their Hail Mary plays early. Like potentially Stormstrider's out for Aether Ice Vein to like trigger something to make you stop on your turn. And they're going to have to make these plays early enough before you even have Blood Debt to make that a potential lose condition. Because that's the issue of when you're playing the recursion into them. All their setup is going to go towards, oh, you're trying to play an Artivore? I'm going to strip your hand. And then you can't banish and you die. So aggro doesn't give those windows. In recursion, you just kind of have to get a bit lucky. So it's tough, right? It's tough. Like the matchup spread isn't. If Levia had an insane matchup spread, like I would think more people play her. But the reality is, like, it's tough. It just truly is.
Yeah, that's fair, and I think that's kind of where I ended up with a similar thing. And like I said, that's why in the beginning, like I made this horrible hybrid deck where I tried to do both, and it just didn't work at all. But like I said, maybe we can't solve everything. We just kind of have to hedge. The Arachne matchup's been super fun. I don't know if you've gotten to play that much, but I think that's a really enjoyable game.
Yeah, well, I mean, it honestly feels pretty easy for both decks, but for recursion, it can be especially cute. You're just like, okay, thank you. Like, there's my howls. I don't have to draw those anymore. And that can feel pretty good. What I find funny about that matchup, though, is like your one payoff card to potentially abuse all the blood debt he's ramping is, Doomsday, right? Like if you can find a Doomsday early, that's insane. But more often than not, he's ramping up my blood debt, and I'm like, hell yeah, I'm gonna draw Doomsday, and then he banishes Doomsday. I'm like, oh, where was the payoff for playing this matchup? Not saying you need to like actually run Hexagore. He's not that scary. Like you don't need to play into the fact that your blood debt gets ramped a little bit. You do tend to just kind of roll him over. Like one of the scariest things you can do is leave no witnesses or CNC. And so same deal, like, you have Crown to try to play around that, but you want to just shorten the windows he gets to really abuse that. And part of that is going to be your own play. Like if you, if you're in a very comfortable spot with Howls, then, and that potentially like Arseling and him hitting leave no witnesses is going to be just like a little too backbreaking, then, you don't necessarily have to Arsenal an attack. Arsenal like more of a flex card, and try to just play around getting blown out by that specifically, because it can be rough. And the fact that he gets to CNC and leave no witnesses is a lot of pressure on a fragile Arsenal. So, it is, yeah. That's like the one questionable part about that matchup. If that lines up, it can be fishy. But other than that, like he just doesn't out damage you. You do kind of just roll him, and it's a fun game. So, what was your experience with it?
Yeah, similar. It can be a little annoying and a weird mindset because some games you just start taking blood debt earlier than you want to, obviously. And like you said, normally those 1 or 2 points of damage that trickle through early is a little weird. Sometimes I feel some pressure to, like, for lack of a better term, start going on the blood debt plan a little early. But yeah, generally the hero just doesn't feel as strong to pressure it, right? They just don't present enough damage, and I feel like they stumble more often than we do.
Yep, and they have all these pumps and shreds and things like that, and it is also hard for them to know which version of Levia they're going to be facing. I'm not sure how Arachne's side for that, but man, if they're bringing those in against like aggro, the aggro deck's just never going to block that. And even the recursion deck is like maybe blocking 1 card per turn. I just don't think those line up super, super well. But I need to play the matchup more. Like I haven't really seen scary Arachnes in general yet. I just keep running into them on Talishar, and Talishar you really have to take with a grain of salt because everyone's still trying out new heroes. The amount of brainstorm Kanos I run into is ridiculous. Like I don't think I'll ever face one at a ProQuest, but hey, on Talishar it's like every other game, man.
Yeah, that's a fun deck too. Are there any other matchups you think I should be aware of? Or like, so I mean, those are 4 really top-notch heroes we kind of striped across the top, and we're kind of like splitting the baby in half with this recursion aggro. Like, is it just recursion, add a couple pulpings and see how you do, or where do you think I should test next?
I actually am eager to look into that now. If it really is like maybe just 3 pulpings that can help the Ice Lexi, or just I guess Lexi in general, Lexi and Iyslander matchup, that's pretty interesting. I normally don't go for halvesies on that kind of package. It's like, well, shoot, here we go. We're bringing in like all the wild rides, all the pulpings, but maybe it is just pulping because you don't care about it actually hitting a 6. You're not Reinar, right? So you don't gain really anything from that 6 hitting, but if you do, then cool. It's the go again is guaranteed. You can enable claws, whatever. But I think more so you need to hopefully force them to block down. And against Lexi, like, that's probably good enough bait for them that they'll do it. Because why would you let a pulping go through as a smart player? Like, you probably shouldn't. But as a Levia player, if it's early game, you can probably do something with that advantage that was carved, blocking down 2 cards. And then against Iyslander, it's just graveyard fill. So I'd be interested to see, like, just the pulping, what that does. Because I haven't tried that, really. But the other matchups that you need to be aware of, I mean, like, Fi, people keep saying it's still like a Fi meta. I don't know. I don't really see a lot of my friends testing Fi, probably because he's a bit of like a... he's a solved deck at this point. I think, you know, you can pick up something like what Dan was playing at Worlds and you'll be very happy with it. The deck just is amazing. And that's just going to be a bit of an issue with Levia. Like, he's a consistent aggro deck that can go really fast. You can outdamage him. Like, you truly have hands that outdamage Fi, but they're just fewer and far between. And with Recursion, it's definitely less likely that you're going to find those hands, but they're there. The Dread Screamers, the Gravelings, the Endless Maw, the Dread Screamer Ghostly, the Blood Rush hands, they're all still in your deck. Same as with the aggro version. I actually kind of prefer facing Fi. This is going to sound crazy, but I do a little bit prefer facing it with Recursion Levia than aggro, because, again, with the aggro list, you have almost no say in, oh, my hand is awful, like, let me sculpt it down to value trade a bit more. There's so many non-blocks in that deck, and it doesn't really chase the same, like, 2-card hand strength that having, like, Dread Ghostly can, or even full copies of Endless Maw. And those are the moments where you see the value in Levia, like we talked about earlier, is actually finding time to carve out those small hand plays. And if Fi takes, like, Mask of Momentum against you, then you actually get, you know, double affecting the small hands, because now you're built for them, and you actually get to trade and turn off Mask while playing for them. So I would favor Recursion, like, a little bit, and just know that your first target in this matchup is Ghostly, like, every time, not Howl. I would probably only run, like, 1 Howl, if any, against Fi. But if you can get, like, Dread Screamer Ghostly off, or do the classic, you know, Hungering Writhing, roll Scabs, hit Ghostly as well, those are nuts turns against that deck. And you can close those games with even just you know, like a Writhing Beast Hulk Dominate. Like, just, 2-card hand, 6 Dominate, like, the game just ends. Cool. And Fi's like one of the ones that's susceptible to that, because they'll just, you know, they'll eat it. They'll go to 1. You know, if they think that they win the game, they'll always play to that. And then you've also got Reckless Swing, right? So it's definitely not, like, favored, but maybe it's like 40-60. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe my win rate against Fi is actually probably a little bit better than that, but I played against Dan. I beat Dan. Lost to Terra. I don't know what other really good Fi players I've played against, but it's probably a little bit better than 40-60. But if I call it 50-50 on stream, everyone's going to say I'm wrong. So maybe we'll leave it at that. But you know, to you specifically, yeah, maybe it's 50-50. Right, what other matchup are you, like, personally worried about? Because I would hope at this point, like, I've played against pretty much anything enough to help out here. Prism shouldn't be on this list anymore, actually. She's gone. Goodbye. That's lucky. You are lucky you don't need to face Prism in this ProQuest season. We all are. That matchup is just... that is not fun. That was Scabs. Dromai's not like that, at least.
Yeah, the rest of them, I feel... I mean, Kano is a weird game, but, I mean, that's just going to be a Kano thing, right? I saw someone in chat just mention Kano.
You cannot beat Kano with Recursion. It's, like, literally impossible. Don't even waste your time. Just a loss. But against aggro, you can absolutely roll that deck. It's the same deal. Like, you have enough damage to put even a wizard that's, like, trying to block on about a 3-turn clock. And if you want to actually cement that matchup, you can take, you know, your normal AB3 and just take Spell Void Cloak. And you should not lose to Kano. Like, you should pretty much never lose. If you don't have at least the Spell Void 1, then, like, maybe it ends up being, you know, that kind of Aether Wildfire kill that they're always going for. Like, that can happen. But if you take even one Spell Void, normally they haven't been able to poke you enough to really do it. In that same stream we were talking about before, in this same stream from Denver, I played against a Kano, and I was on Recursion Levia, but I was just having an amazing early game, and I got them to, I think I presented lethal on like turn like 4 or 5, so like a little bit slower than normal, right? But I died by exactsies. So if I had even one more pitch, because I'd pitched like yellow this turn, if I had even one pitch, or like that Spell Void Cloak that I was talking about, right, instead of Husk, like I didn't even respect Kano this game, right? If I had even one of those things, I just don't die, and I beat Kano even with Recursion. So, but this was like a more hybridized... No, actually, I think I wasn't playing Recursion this event. This was Aggro Levia. Take that back. This was Denver still, so this was Aggro Levia, not the Philadelphia list. So yeah, this is what Aggro Levia is trying to do. I just didn't respect Kano, so there was no Spell Void. And this was like my anti-Iyslander package, which means I had to drop the Claw for Lantern, which is also not right. Against Kano, you do want the double Claw still, and just take the Null Rune Gloves. So maybe he's hype again, you know, like We Make Best has been doing good Kano content. People seem to like him.
Yeah, so I guess the last matchup to cover then would, or a question is Briar. I know maybe Briar's last hurrah.
I hope so.
When they hit the channel mounts, it feels horrible, but otherwise the game feels okay. What do you think about that?
Briar actually feels like another incredibly even game. I've beaten Brody Spurlock on Briar. I've beaten Peyton on Briar. I've also lost them both when they're on Briar. It really is that game of spike cards. Like their CMH turns, like their Force of Natures, that kind of thing. You will not beat that damage. Like that ceiling is another level. You cannot even hope to do what they do behind a Force of Nature CMH turn. Will they get that every game? Probably not. If they do, sure. You know, it's what the deck ceilings are. Like you're just going to lose that game. But when they clunk up, their damage really dips, right? They can trade maybe, you know, 1 card for 4. That's fine. Maybe they've kept a whole hand just to try to dig a bit with like Sonata Gorg, but it doesn't end up being more than like, you know, 7 plus Rosetta off 4, like whatever it is. Those hands are the hands you beat. And unfortunately, you have no control in that kind of thing. It's going to be how they draw. You don't have interaction. So you're just hoping that their hands aren't insane. Because your average hands do still line up in that same way of being able to trade down and outvalue what they do. That still happens. But then you can spike with Blood Rush, and your ceiling is never going to be what it is on their CMH. But, you know, it's nuts. Like, if you push them down to lethal, then it just doesn't give a window anymore for CMH. So there's not, like, specific matchup advice, unfortunately, other than be smart with your equipment to, like, you know, not get smacked by a Snatch on their CMH turn or something, right? Like, that's a way to just blow out the game from your own bad choices. But other than that, like, it's really a draw match. Like, what do they see? What do you see? But overall, I think it's probably another like 40-60, 50-50 within that world. Most Briars cut Revel and Rune Chant, or Revel and Rune Blood, and that's been nice. That was the kind of card that, like, yeah, it's just 4 damage, but against the Levia, like, you're never taking Null Rune, and so they could just kind of turbo end the game when you weren't expecting it by just, I just dealt 8 unblockable this game that you weren't ready for, and that can be really rough. But so most Briars are dropping that, and that feels pretty good now. So, you know, it'll just be what it is. You know, just take that game as it comes.
So looking at this spread then, should I just be focusing on the aggro and just trying to figure out a way to beat Dash and Bravo?
I mean, the issue with trying to beat Dash with aggro is you really, like, if you're trying to build the deck to say, I can, like, deal 12 on my average turn, even with, like, you know, my 4 cards can just deal 12, and then my spike turns will deal, like, 20. Dash just does that exact game plan better. Like, that exact game plan, just better. Because the resources that she has to, or that extra resource she has to pay, really, is a mechanic that's not going to be relevant that game. Her boosting away her deck does not affect how fast-paced that aggro matchup's going to be, and you can't really help it because of the non-blocks in your deck to try to abuse the fact that she's boosting out her threats. So, with aggro like, against a smart aggro Dash player, you should never win, because they just do your game plan better. So, if you really think dash is going to be like nuts, then it is not possible, I think, unless you maybe you'd have to dedicate like your entire sideboard and run like a really light equipment package to try to be able to pivot enough non-blocks out of your deck to just like an Arc Smash game plan, which I wouldn't want to do that. I wouldn't want to commit like the entire board just for that matchup. So either take dash as a loss, or consider recursion, or splitting the builds a bit. And then Bravo, this one's more interesting because once again, like you can deal so much damage so quickly that Bravo can just never be in the position to have his final chance of throwing his big spinal pummel, crippling pummel, whatever it is. If he just didn't see those cards in the right amount of time, then his slow trickle gets him to the point of never being able to keep that again. Because when you deal 12 a turn, Bravo's likely not going to just from the get-go say, oh yeah, I'll block 12. Like, you'll throw 12, I'll block 12. Because they're not used to that pacing against Levia. They want to actually throw on enough pressure to get you to the point of your blood deck kills you. If all they do is say block, 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 then actually even them throwing like one crippling pummel doesn't win them the game, because you'll never have taken damage and then you're not under threat of instant losing. So I don't know if like the Bravo players adapt or not, because I think against the aggro game plan specifically, they should just say block everything, block everything. So if the Bravo players are smart and can recognize your build, then they can abuse that and just save their life in that matchup accordingly. But against like a recursion list, they should not do that, because they're on a clock effectively. Like, you have inevitability coming up, but the aggro list does not. And the aggro list will just have those turns of, oh, Wild Ride missed, and then what? So I think Bravo needs to wait for that in this matchup. I just don't know how smart the local Bravos are, but you're in like the Team Ascent area, and they're pretty good players. I think I beat all the ones I faced when I was there, and they were pretty impressed. But it's still going to be tough out there. It really is. But that's, I mean, my last advice on like matchups is don't take Dromai for granted. This matchup can get played so many different ways these days. There's like the Red Hot Dromai. There's the kind of like Tome Dromai. There's the Dromai that's like built specifically to just try to eat the Pauper matchups alive. And I think against all of them, like, you do end up doing pretty well. Against like the Red Hot list, yes, they land a lot of damage that you can't pop, but you do end their turns where those aren't the case, and they actually do try to go in with dragons. You also never really pop enough for the ghostly build, like the ghostly centered game plans, to really do anything. Like, maybe their ghostly's at like 6 or 7, but that's not big enough to end the game. What you need to just be careful about in this matchup is if you only focus on popping dragons and not actively clearing some of them, the game will get out of hand. So luckily with recursion, it's really easy to manage dragons, because your ghostly visit can just come in and like, oh, clear Chromite, clear Maragai, whatever. And that's great. Like, if you weave that in even like twice per game, you've probably won. You just never have to worry about like a looming board state. But against aggro, it's a lot harder, because you're bringing claws, and claws don't kill Maragai. And you also don't run, like an easy mutated mass or ghostly to chuck at one. So just be careful. Like, you should stop this matchup. Like, you really should. But if there's one way you lose, it's because you just take it as a free matchup, and that's not exactly true. You still need to be smart about managing board state. So.
Yeah, despite what Mo was saying in chat, one of my good friends on Team Ascent mains Dromai, so I luckily have a lot of reps into it, so I definitely know it. Yeah, like you said, if you stumble and make a couple misplays, they can definitely punish you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, that's I also just hope for your sake you don't face a Levia Mirror. I don't think there's anything quite as miserable in this game as the Levia Mirror. I've played it way too many times now, and I don't want to like take anything away from Levia players, but there are no choices to really be made in the Levia Mirror. It is quite literally who drew more damage. Like, neither of you have interaction. You have the same exact blocking equipment, so like there's no husk advantage, right? Like, you're not running the CNC. The only small things you can do is like to min-max like a little bit better is like when you use Crown, I guess. you know, or maybe slowing down like 1 second longer for a different arsenal that you're digging for, whatever it was. But the Levia mirror is absolutely miserable, and in Denver, there's a couple Levia players, so I hope for your sake you don't face them. Or for their sake, I guess.
Taking some time off, so I think we're okay there. So.
Phew. Okay, good. Yeah, I love Kendra, and I wouldn't want to see you two fight. So, shout out.
Kendra would win. Let's just be honest. So, no, but this was super helpful. I mean, that's basically gives me a great starting point. I'll mess around with the deck list if you don't mind. I'll probably shoot the list on Discord in a couple days here, and try to get one finalized for the weekend armories.
That sounds great. Yeah, I apologize. I haven't really brewed with like Levia competitively super recently. I've just been busy with work, and then I'm also not convinced that with the amount of ProQuest I'll be able to play at, Levia is really the right choice. Like, I think I'll only get to play in maybe 3 this season, and that feels like probably 1 or 2 short for me to just say, yeah, I'll throw Levia and like I'll win one, because that is like still a bit of a tough ask. Like, you need a larger sample size. You need like the right day, you need the right matchups, you need the right amount of luck to really just walk in and say, yeah, like I'm gonna win a ProQuest on Levia. And I do want to win a ProQuest, so I'm questioning it myself, but I'll give it another go, and we can talk on Discord and figure out something to start playing more competitively. But definitely look at bring around like newer ideas about recursion that we talked about. And then Vasily, he's been playing with like a Berserk aggro list, different than the one I made a video on, but I still wouldn't play like full aggro triple Berserk and like really think Berserk's doing anything. Take Berserk lists with a grain of salt. Like, you can't pretend that deck is perfect, because it can't run pure 6s. Like, it just can't. So out of your control at points, like Berserk will just be straight negative card advantage. You never get the draw off of it, and it just feels miserable. So I'm still on the fence, truly, with like how much I really like, how much I see in that card in terms of competitive viability. But if it works, then hey, that means you got lucky, and lucky is good. Every deck needs to be a little bit lucky to win. So.
Yeah, and like you said, I think we have obviously different goals for the season. Like, I'm just trying to top 8 of ProQuest, and due to the, I think I'll be able to go to 6 with only leaving Colorado.
Oh wow, that's awesome.
Pretty fortunate in that area. Yeah, Colorado's pretty stacked in that regard. So, a lot of opportunities.
Oh well, then you'll definitely top 8. Come on, no sweat. I think like top 8s are not out of Levia's grasp at all. Like, she can have her run, because I think truly, if you're playing like a version of the deck you really like, and you're in tune with it, you're playing everything really well, she's still in that range of, I'm only going to lose like every 5th game to variance. Like, so if you're that kind of player, if you're that comfortable with Levia and your deck list specifically, then you can ignore the true like variance aspect of Levia, because to get a top 8, you're fine to take that loss. And you're probably fine to take like one more loss to a bad matchup or something going, terribly because of misplays or whatever. Like, an X2 record should make top 8 at these events. So that is fine. You are totally clear to do that with Levia. It's breaking X2 that is really tough for her. Like, really tough. Because there is that looming loss due to unfortunate blood debt stuff. That's just going to come up. And then that other loss just because you can't always have the miracle run, right? And being X2 at a bigger event does mean you miss. I've bubbled out now of 2 Battle Hardens and 2 or 3 PTI events at the right record, but not with like the best tiebreakers out of that record. Like, X2 just isn't good enough for those, but for ProQuest, you're fine. You're fine.
Yeah, so no, thank you again for taking the time. I really appreciate it. It was actually really beneficial. So yeah, thank you again.
Well, cool. I don't really have to go anywhere if you wanted to play a game on Talishar, because we had talked about that before. I was going to stick around and just continue the stream anyway. So if you feel comfortable doing that on stream, or if you had the time.
I don't think I have time for it, unfortunately. When we talked about it, I thought we initially talked about an hour, so I got like 15 minutes before I got to pick my kids up. So I just don't think I
see.
Out there.
Dang. Okay. Well, I'm open to any questions you've got on Discord, any deck stuff you want to talk about. So, you know where to find me. And I need to promote you, I think. I don't think I have you added as a League of Levia's Legionnaire. You said you won some armories recently. Let me find you.
Yeah, I'm pretty bad with the social media. I'm old. This stuff's confusing.
You are in the League of Levia, right?
Yep. Yeah, I'm there. Let me find myself. Proof of promotion. Am I supposed to post my stuff there? I only posted there once.
Are you?
Oh yeah, because I won a regicide on it.
Oh, so are you the right rank already? Are you yellow? You can type something.
Nope, I am blue. I am just an agent of
Demonastry. All right, drop a comment somewhere. I'll promote you. Good job.
Thanks.
It's all.
But no, it's fun, and I mean, it's extra rewarding when you win with them. So that's what I'll say.
Oh, too true. Yeah, nothing quite feels as good as a win that you worked your ass off for in Levia. That's just, there's nothing quite like it. All right, and we're gonna promote you, Levia's Legionnaire. Well done. You're gonna top 8, and then we'll get you all the way up to Blazenbet's right hand, and then you're gonna win, and we'll get you at Shadow Incarnate. So that's next in your future, eh?
All right, it's good to have goals to work towards. But no, thanks again for working with me. Thanks again for the time, and yeah, I'll catch the rest of the stream later.
Okay, yeah. Thanks for this. It was a lot of fun. Have a good one with your kids and all that. All right. Bye-bye.
Thanks, yeah, and congrats on the job. Cheers.
Thanks. All right. Well, that was interesting. I've never tried to be in a coaching role before. I feel like I ramble like a madman because what do I know? I've literally never had like a local Levia player to talk to. It's just me in an echo chamber. So I'm sure chat was probably popping off, but I was trying to talk to T there. But that was fun. Hope y'all liked that. I got myself thinking about new ideas now. What does 3 pulping specifically do to like a straight recursion Levia list? I don't know. We'll try to add it and see. But what we're gonna do, just to wrap up the stream, why not play some of the Berserk Levia? Like, why not? Add it to the YouTube histories here. Competitive CC. Tell me, I was rocking like a legitimate. Oh, it looks like we've got a DC lobby. DC lobby. We'll drop the deck link here. Competitive CC. Probably about to get rolled, honestly, but that's all right. Sometimes I do the rolling, sometimes I get rolled. You never know. Like, you legitimately never know. It's not a matchup that scares me off. It's nothing like that. It's just the game as it plays out. What do you mean when you say recursion Levia? Recursion Levia looks more like this, and it's built around trying to, against aggro, cheat value out of shadow or out of Ghostly Visit to just roll scabs and break curve with using one floating resource on any of your 2-cost attacks to throw Ghostly. That tends to be your like anti-aggro game plan. Against anything mid-range or control, you can set up double Howl from Beyond to basically have unlimited loopable damage as long as you can keep banishing the Howl from Beyonds, because these cards are playable from your banish zone. So if you get to the point where you play out a triple banish card like Endless Maw, Writhing Beastalk, Hungering, whatever, you banish your last 3 cards in graveyard, then the only card remaining in your graveyard becomes that one exact card, right? And then you've got 2 Howl from Beyonds in your banish zone. You then play them. Your graveyard becomes those exact 3 cards, Howl, Howl, attack. Then you play another attack, and it banishes those 3. And at the end of the combat chain, it's the last card in the graveyard, and it's a 6. Then you can just kind of keep going with that, and basically turn your hand's really good rate. I mean, you don't need Go Again to do it. You can turn a 3-card hand into 12 damage or 13 damage. 12 damage Dominate if it's Writhing Beastalk, 13 damage if it's Hungering Slaughter Beast. And that's pretty nuts. And you can just do it, you know, not indefinitely, but for a while, for sure. And you can even get small hands off with Boneyard Marauder plus a blue, to play 1 Howl from Beyond and then Boneyard. And that becomes another 2-card hand for 9 damage, which is exactly what Endless Maw does for your deck. That is just like disgusting. So yeah, those rates are nuts. Like a 2-card hand for 9, either through Boneyard or Endless Maw. Nuts. If you can get Dread Screamer plus Ghostly off of 2 cards, a blue plus Dread Screamer, that's 10 damage off 2 cards. Like, those rates are insane, but they're at smaller hand sizes. So that was part of the discussion. with T today was about just, you do need to abuse those points of Levia, or she just doesn't have the damage she ought to. She doesn't scale insanely well. Like, that's why you see Blood Rush making its way into, like, pretty much every Levia list, is because she doesn't have those large hands that really spike without Blood Rush. Blood Rush turns her 4-card hands, 5-card hands into, very high ceilings of damage, like 18, 21, whatever it is, that she normally just doesn't really get. Because you never want to just, like, add a third Howl from Beyond and just say, oh, when I have a large hand, I'll play triple Howl from Beyond, because that means you're putting 3 misses into your graveyard, and then you're at risk of losing to Blood Debt. So you never want to break that threshold of just going nuts that way. But you can do some pretty strong loops, like with large hands, like play Howl, banish the Howl with Unworldly, play the Howl again, like into Deep-Rooted Evil. That can be pretty funny. Maybe there's like another extra Howl in there as well. You can do a lot. Like against, I was playing against a Dromai at the Battle Hardened Denver, and I pitch stacked a Blood Rush hand that was, I think it was like Claw, Unworldly Howl, Graveling for 34 damage, like in my pitch stack, like uninteractable. It was nuts. A 34 damage turn. And you can get those first cycle with Blood Rush. You can. But if you do it with some intention, yeah, it's pretty crazy. Pretty crazy. Oh, no one's joining this link. Is it harder to join Talishar lobbies these days? Like, I know they changed... Alright, we're just gonna join one of these. Screw it. I know they changed, like, something to do with ELO. Or not ELO. Not ELO, the reputation system or whatever they call it. Yeah, we got the sideboards preset here. We're good to go. Let's see it. I am ready. Alright, Fi's the kind of matchup where, with a Berserk deck, like, you can spike it and just out-damage them, and then hopefully win. Or your hands just don't come together, and you just kind of slowly lose. Because you don't get a lot of room to be able to 5-card play in this matchup. Not much. So we'll see. They chose to go first, which is pretty annoying, actually, because they'll likely, go wide, and you have enough non-blocks in your deck that you don't necessarily get to block everything. But we drew all blocks here. One of them is Mark of the Beast, which is not great. Not great on turn 0, because it does force us into Blood Debt, and on top of that, all these cards are Blood Debt, which is really strange. Like, that would ramp us to 4 Blood Debt immediately. Yes. Yes, Oh, we could actually try something here. I've got Talishar set up for the new beta window. Check this out. Let's see if it works. Does this function? It's like a little bit off, isn't it? It's a little bit off. I don't know. We'll go with it for a second. I just kind of want to... Okay, no. Sorry, we're going back to old Talishar. I can't learn this new thing on stream. It'll freak me out. How are we doing tonight, says Michael. It was pretty interesting. I've never done a Levia coaching session, but we worked our way through it. And I hope that was helpful for T. It is nice to just, like, talk Levia for a long while. That's fun. She's a cool hero. She's pretty spunky. It's just hard to have, like, tactile advice because I haven't played in a long time. Like, it's been since Worlds, basically. Yo, Mr. PMA. What up, dude? It's been a fun stream so far. I can't stay, like, super late because now I've got a job, life is rough now. I actually have responsibilities. But we'll see if I can work around, like, a long lunch break type schedule so that I can actually, like, stream 2 hours midday or something. I'd prefer that over this because I feel bad. Like, the lovely woman Sandra is off, starting to do house chores, and, like, I want to help. I will help, but we're gonna wrap up the stream. Oh, you're local to T? Yeah, he's really cool. I'm glad he reminded me who he was. I liked meeting him in Denver. He's a very cool person. All right. Well, with this kind of hand, we are forced a little bit just to say go. Yeah, ideally we can get off. You know, we'll be pitching here, we'll be banishing here. We'll draw 2. So in theory, we'll be able to Bare Fang's Claw and Arsenal off that, which would be nice. We need to draw a blue. But if we can get, 11 damage off and Arsenal, that should be, quite good. So we'll do it. Oh, we didn't draw the blue. We didn't draw the blue. So we're pretty much going to go without Arsenal here. Maybe if we draw blue, discard the Dread Screamer, then we can go double claw, and that's, like, still fine. So we'll see. If we draw the blue, Okay, we drew... Oh, this... Oh, hold up, folks. Hold up. This is playable. We Art Award. All right, we're getting lucky. These are the Levia lines, Oh yeah, casually my turn 1. Just 15 damage turn 1. Whatever. No sweat. Not bad, eh? In theory, if these were double blue, we could also have fit a claw in there for an 18 damage turn 1. Can't have it all, though. Can't have it all. Also, for anyone here who saw that intro, did you like that intro? I put a lot of effort into editing up those 2 rocks talking to each other. I thought it was pretty funny. That was so long ago, though. Everyone's probably new at this point. All right. Red Mounting Anger. Pitching Red Mounting Anger. They're not running Mask Momentum either, so if I just want to like straight block for value, then I'll just do it now. We're going to return Endless Maw and just Arsenal Boneyard on this turn. It's just what we always do from this position. So we'll take the extra life save, basically. Shouldn't have to worry about anything else. These are how, like, this is how you get ahead against 5. It has to be exactly like this. You go second, you get a huge life lead, you'll likely present lethal first. We're even in an amazing position here to actually get ahead on Arsenal with a really strong card. Like, finding our 2-card play here, Endless Maw, so good, because we actually just blocked with 1 on turn 0. So I was pretty worried that we just wouldn't see a rate like that come up again. But we do. We do. So we get our 2-card 9, nuts damage. That beats his 2-card return. His 2-card return is 7 damage, is what Fi normally does. Of course, it's split across 3 damage with the attack, 3 damage with the Phoenix Flame, 1 damage off, or no, sorry, 3 damage with an attack, 3 damage off Ember, 1 damage off Phoenix. So it's split across 3, which can be kind of annoying, but it is only 7 normally. So we just outvalue that. Now the other option here is if we block with an equipment piece now, we're saving 1 extra life because we know he's running at us with the Salt the Wound. His Salt the Wound isn't huge value though because he's already triggered Shuko. But I still think it's worth it because it's just, this is a game of inches and this is 1 extra HP we're effectively saving on this block. So we'll do it. And then here comes only 5 on the Salt the Wound. Really not a big deal. And he sacked his Mask the Pouncing Lynx for that. Oh, let me start up the music again. There we go. Sorry, something did feel off. Now I know. What was the music? The other strange part of how this game is going, we have so much Blood Debt already, we could just rip Doomsday. And holy moly, like, Doomsday is a nuts card. If you see it early against aggro, you win. It's an extra Husk. It's better than Husk. And we're pretty much there. Like, we banish 1 more Blood Debt, and we block with Husk, right? And holy... Alright, we're just getting at this game. We've just got it. We've just got it. We're gonna probably keep this whole hand and just pitch the Art of War. And just guarantee our turn is massive. Yeah, obviously, would have liked for... Well, maybe we don't have to keep everything. We could block with the Wrecker if we really want to. because our turn is still likely Claw, Claw, Boneyard, even off of the Art of War pitch. We just don't get Arsenal. Yeah, I think it kind of wastes cards. It wastes cards otherwise to not block with Wrecker, because if we pitch here, what are we going to do with all the extra resources if our turn is just Claw, Claw, Boneyard? We'll end up like floating Tooth and attack, maybe. Or maybe we just draw a different attack to end with Boneyard at the very last chain and not double Claw. Oh, we'll see. No reason to block still. We'll let it keep going. We'll let it keep going. Yeah, we feel pretty good. Like, we're just consistently out damaging this. Not scared. Not scared. Because when you get Phi down to must block range, like, he will just fold. It's not close. You've been playing some Bolton recently. Fun stuff so far. I love me some Raiden Bolton. If you're playing the Plague that is Saber's Bolton, I don't know why you play this game. Like, that just doesn't make sense to me, sorry. Alright, so we're about to get a Blood Rush into him with already trading positively on life here. We have the exact same equipment block he does still. He's got 3 life left, we've got 3 life left. And we're about to launch Blood Rush. Pretty nuts. Pretty nuts. You hate OTK Bolton. Thank you, Mr. PMA. It's the right answer. The absolutely correct answer. Oh, see, this would have been nice to see beforehand. Well, this isn't awful. Our turn is still just Claw, Claw, Boneyard into Arsenal, which is pretty cool. I'm kind of intrigued to Arsenal Berserk, but it's probably wrong. It's probably better to Arsenal the Bare Fangs, but... Well, I guess it depends how he blocks. If he blocks down heavily, then I'll Arsenal the Berserk. But if he doesn't, then... I need to not pretend that I get a full hand for Berserk. Oh, he's eating it so far. He plays a Sync. Interesting. Okay, so that's 1 card down, so I'll probably be pretty happy to play Berserk then, already. This is going to present... Yeah, we're fine Arsenal Berserk, honestly. There's no way he presents lethal on this. It would have had to been like 4-card hand plus, you know, he uses Tunic for Art of War type of deal. Which I guess I could have just mathed out. He never keeps 4 cards and makes that playable. I just have too much damage. Because it was Xaxes if he blocks with, like, even just Striker Stripe. So, pretty nice. Speaking of, these League of Levia sleeves, they're pretty cool, right? How do we see them close up? I don't know. But when they pop up, you all can actually buy these sleeves on the link below. Perfect Christmas gift. I promise you I'll ship them out a day after you order. Promise. They're pretty sexy. I did it all by hand. Okay, yeah, so way better to hold Berserk now. His turn is useless. Oh, sick. Oh, let's go. All right. We're kicking off. Let's see Pulping and Beast Within. Or Berserk, Pulping, Beast Within. Let's see it. Come on. Come on. Nope. That's fine. Graveling Growl is still alive now. So our turn becomes Pulping, Claw, Claw, Graveling. Pretty good. So all Berserk did there was basically make Graveling Growl a 2 for 7, which is still pretty good. Because it turned on Graveling, which it also turned off Blood Debt, so that's all it really did. Cost me 1 resource. But I'll take it. Just don't be a Sink in Arsenal, come on. That's actually something that more players should do against Levia, is actually prioritize Sink in Arsenal. Like, most Levia lists are running Pulping these days, and if you can just stop a turn like this by having Sink in Arsenal, that'd be nuts. Because there's no reason to actually use the Sink on that last turn. If you're going to full block out, keep that last card as your Sink in Arsenal, right? And then you just would have stopped my turn here, and then I just Arsenal Graveling and keep a Beast Within Wrecker Romp in hand. That's awful. That's just, yeah, like I wouldn't want that. GG. GG. Alright, this is actually one of the reasons why I didn't record some of the Berserk games for the deck tech or even stream. Because I had a couple recorded, but most of them were literally like this. Like this is turn 4 and we're probably about to win. That seems like a little too fast for people to really enjoy. But then again, people like We Make Best content, and all those games are like, you know, Kano kills on turn 2. You have to connect your profile to a Patreon account. Then it will check which Patreons you're subbed to, and you get their sleeves unlocked in the menu. And then it should look like this if he's in chat. So I can equip like Hometown TCG, Man Sant, got all of them. Uh-oh. The dude's just eating it? Okay, well. Alright, there you go. I played the game for 5 minutes. I sat down. I basically sneezed and the game was over. Yeah, but that's what aggro can do. It really can. And my opponent left. Alright. Let's keep jamming. We'll jam for like another 20 minutes. Yo. Alright, this is actually very nice. I want to play this matchup, legitimately. Give it to me. Give it to me, game. Yes, I'll go first. A while ago you mentioned some LSS contract. Yes, I actually have a meeting with LSS right after this. And I hope after this meeting I can announce like the biggest deal you've ever heard. It's pretty crazy. Also, this is nuts. We drew Mutated Mass. We're off to the races. Deck's high rolling. GG says, James, there's no way that was you, James. Come on. Alright, we'd be drawing into these exact two. Nah, there's no reason. These cards suck. Put them both on the bottom. Give me like a draw discard, you know? Help me ramp that graveyard a little bit. How much I gotta tip you to see me play Kano? I'd rather delete my YouTube than play Kano. Pog. Jesus. Okay, now we've got... I mean, honestly, it should just be Deadwood into the Mutated Mass so that we at least make it a 4. Get the graveyard fill. If we play the Mutated Mass out now, I'm pretty sure it's supposed to be 0, but I think Talishar makes it a 2. Because it could work where I play the Mutated Mass and then Deadwood and then actually banish the Mutated Mass again. Which would be kind of cool, but we're not necessarily going to play it that way, you know? We'll just do this. Maybe I draw blue, I discard the Boneyard, and then screw it, I'll send it. Mandible Claw into Mutated Mass for 6. Why not? 15 damage, turn 0. That'd be cool. The biggest DLA? I mean, I'm intrigued for sure. Yeah, there's I mean, the two things that I think I've already announced about the LSS deal is I'm streaming... Well, actually, you all probably knew this. I'm streaming all the SEG cons, but I have LSS's blessing now, whereas before... Yeah, let's get rid of this Art of War. Before, I wasn't actually doing it with LSS's approval. I was doing it like kind of around them, because they had said that they didn't actually want to like officially support Battle Hardened streams. That'll just be like up to the community. And I was like, okay, well, the community's me, I'll do it. And they saw the Battle Hardened Philly stream, and they were like, hell yeah, we'll help you run this. We'll make sure, you know, SEG knows that we've got your back, and on and on. This should probably be 2, but if it says 4 damage, I'll take it. Because these aren't technically a cost. Hell yeah. 4. 2 free damage. So that's happening. So I'll be at SCG Con New Jersey streaming that. I'll be at all the SCG Cons. SCG Con. Aren't there like 3 announced so far? I gotta plan like the travel there, but I'll be able to drive to this one. Probably drive to this one. Probably fly to this one. But yeah, I'll beat all of them. And then... Oh, this is the... Yeah, okay, I remember what's happening. Then the other thing that I think I already announced was LSS wants me to do the Dynasty Gauntlet. So I did a Gauntlet series with them before for Uprising, where it was like a show match of all the new heroes. They want me to do another one of those for Dynasty, but their only concern was the decks need to be like ProQuest ready. Like they want people to watch it and say that deck looked cool. I'm gonna take it and I'm gonna play it at a PQ. So they asked me to like go big and make sure these decks are like all super tuned, that all my opponents are like the best of the best. And you'll be, I can't say who they are, but you'll be pretty excited on the lineup here. We got a bunch of people together. We're all going to meet up at a house over in New Jersey and have a really fun weekend and record everything. And then that's the 2 LSS news pieces. The other one I can't say until after this meeting. And then even then, maybe I shouldn't. I don't know. Well, I've got questions for him. Oh, more tournament streams? Yeah. Oh, and they're a lot better. I've been working my ass off to really upgrade some of the stuff you're going to see at tournaments. Like, check this out. See that animation? I made that animation, and it's not the best. Like, it was just my first attempt. But, I'm trying very hard to up the quality on everything and, you know, get in like more professional casters and things like that. I had the most fun at SCG Philly when like Brian Gottlieb came and just hung out for a round. That was insane. And then I've been doing the Clash series with Uber, and Uber is fantastic. He's not really like he's not properly like in the fab casting scene yet, but he's a big time caster. And he has been so incredible to work with, especially behind the scenes on Clash. He just brings a professionalism to it all that I was just never expecting, honestly. Really like him. So we'll see what I can do moving forward. The sad part is doing more streaming means I get to play less. But hey, LSS also told me that they're not releasing Levia support for 10 months. So what the heck? Like, why should I even play? I'll just chill. I'll wait till the supplemental. Who cares? You played against Uber last night at your armory? Oh, awesome. Wait, where is that? Somewhere in like Northern California? I don't quite know where he is actually. Oh, hell yeah. I'm playing Terror Living from Limit next turn. Let's go. Let's send it. I'm good. We're doing it. I'm doing it. SoCal. Southern California. Okay. Oh, yeah. I mean, your name is So Casual Gaming after all. Congrats on all the deals. Yeah, thank you. It's coming together. It's been a long run. It's been a long run. Like, I kind of knew from the get-go that when I started streaming, even those small events back in Michigan, that I wanted to do more of that. Like, truly, it has been the most fun I've had in Flesh and Blood, is just streaming. Oh, you dog. At least that doesn't give me a frostbite. But that is annoying. Oof, this really messes me up. This really messes me up. Now, I'll have to just, I'll just pay with the Graveling. Not for AB, because I still need to keep it possible that I get to play the Boneyard here. If I just discard the other one. 4 damage. 4 damage. Did they actually trigger Metacarpus? They did that? They did that? Oh, I'm not blocking this. I was never blocking it. Yeah, I mean, I'll just pay. Okay. I mean, that was on you, dude. That was on you. I don't know about the thought process there, Felipe Costa, but we're kind of rolling you. This is actually, Tear Limb from Limb specifically is so good into Iyslander. It's an extra blue you're adding anyway, and then it's something they can't blizzard. We've actually seen this now twice. Their blizzard is getting a little clunked because you can go tall. Like, you can just go tall with this. Like, look at this. That is in theory a 3-card 12. 3-card 12. This is only turn 3 and they're at 12. Pretty good. And now we've got the Blood Rush. I'd say we feel pretty comfortable at this game. Yeah. I'll say. They've just had no time to set up Disruption. We're cool with that. James and Levi, I'm sure you're cringing a little bit just because you two are like the perfect Icelanders, but I'd take you on. I'm not scared. I've played against both of you online. All right, okay, this is the one scary part though, not gonna lie. This being hypothermia always freaks me out. Like, it is very scary. But what can you do? Like, hypothermia is... Oh, you're the other James Adams. Motion designer James. Ah, you've got the exact same name, dude. Val, very cool you're hanging out, James. It must be late for you. It must be late for you. Oh, God, it is so terrifying. I think I'm gonna just not swing the claw then. I'll lead with the Dread Screamer, because I'm gonna play that out anyway. So if it's hypothermia, at least I throw 8. And this also, I guess, plays around like Cold Snap, but he should have done that before, if he really had it. Alright, it's another Blizzard. Jesus, that's all 3 Blizzards. Well, yeah, we're gonna pay for that, though. You bet. And then we'll just end up with Mutated Mass, I guess. Not the strongest play. Not the strongest play. But at least it's something, right? Oh my god. This Iyslander is like so committed to not letting me kill them. Not like it's super working, honestly. Doesn't quite seem like it's working. I mean, I've got a lot of life to work with. This is only Blood Rush number 1 down. There are more coming, my friend. Yeah, basic bitch name might be. Go by something more British, like Jimothy Adams or something. That sounds pretty cool. I actually don't... I don't know if anyone's actually called that Jimothy. But it sounds more British. Yeah, no. We'll do this, and then we'll discard the Wild Ride. And then we'll swing the Mutated Mass. And this is still a 12 damage turn. It's not great. But, I mean, the dude's at 12, right? So, pretty nuts. Oh! Wait. I was about to say, is it 6? It's not, because Tear Limb from Limb. Dang, I'm bad at this game. Could I have done that any differently, though? No, because Wild Ride's still 2. Okay, GG. Okay, I mean, maybe Berserk Levia is the gas. That's 100% win rate. What do I know? What do I know? Yo. This doesn't exactly look like a DC lobby. It kind of looks like people just don't want to play against Kano. Okay, yep, that's exactly what it was. Oh, I'll play against Kano every day. This is a good matchup. Yeah. Kano hype. I'm hyping it up. I'm saying it's a good matchup. I think out of all the plebs that are playing this list on February, I think out of all of them, Kano is still a favored matchup, even with all the tanking everyone's doing. Yeah, look at this. Kano remains like the one good matchup after everyone hurt the results there. Hell yeah, let's go. Free damage. Free damage. Discard Skullcrack, let's go. Discard Skullcrack into Swing Big, let's go. Ah, dang. Alright, that's good enough for me. 3 free damage and I'll pass. Okay, hey, if you spend this whole hand, I will swing big you. Kano, like, just FYI, brother. Just FYI. If you spend this entire hand, I will swing big you. Okay, thank you. Thank you. You made this choice easy, my friend. You made this choice easy. Okay, I'll take 2. Oh, God. Dang, dude, you're gonna gain go again? Sheesh. I took 2 damage for that. Ah! Hurt. Well, Tagashi, after this, I hope you root for me, because we just punished the hell out of this poor soul. Yeah, come on. Come on. Alright, this hand sucks, though. Not much we're doing here. It's just gonna be, I mean, honestly, we could throw hooves just to make sure we keep pressure up. We could. Well, no, there's no blood debt in this hand, so I guess we just pitch into AB and just throw Boneyard. Arsenal Graveling. That's fine. That's also fine. Because, yeah, there's no blood debt, right? So we can just play it out. No big deal. Trash talking to new levels? It's a Kano, man. What do you expect? It's a Kano. I gotta. Yeah, we don't need the Doomsday, so we'll just save the HP. Actually, probably should have overpitched there. Because I don't want... Well, no, because I'm going to throw the Boneyard, right? And then I'm going to Arsenal the Graveling, so it doesn't really matter. These 3 reds are fine. No one's mentioned my mustache, which maybe is because you can't see it. That's definitely possible. But I shaved the other night. I was like, you know what? Maybe we'll rock the stash just a little. Just a little. Alright, they had another blue, so it's just free damage here. That's a little rough. We do keep taking it. You look like curly-haired potato on my phone, to be honest. No, I look like Inigo Montoya. That's the whole look. That's the whole... Here. You killed my father. Prepare to die. That was the whole look. How'd you like that transition, James? You motion designer, you. I made that, baby. It took... That was manual in Premiere Pro. That took so long. But it's all for LSS's sweet, sweet approval. It's like... You know I simp for you. Other James. James White, not James Adams. I'll do anything you need. Oh my word. Yep, blazing. Alright, I mean, this is just for 4 damage though, right? Like, who cares? Yeah. This is totally fine. That's a blazing out of the deck for 4 damage. It was free damage. It was. But he sacked an E-Pot for that. We throw 6. A little sad, a little sad. Our deck is so threat dense, but we slowed down. Got some time this weekend if you need anything. Oh, I mean, this was the project I was mentioning to you about. Was just like a transition, like a flesh and blood transition. I went with this because it's a little reminiscent of what they were doing for the world stream, where they just had like all the character portraits. But I thought this one has some extra flair. It's actually got sound effect. Do we really do this? My god, I guess I could. Like, this could be just Berserk Wild Ride Send It. It could be. I don't really know if I want it to be, though. Looks decent. That's not high enough praise, James. Amp it up, come on. I'm telling you, it was a lot of work, I promise. I'm not very good at this thing, so it took a lot. What does this one do again? You may banish a wizard non-attack action card from your hand with cost equal. If you do, you can play it this turn as though it were an instant. Alright, so the difference becomes either Berserk now for 2 life and basically deny or reverberate. Actually, it's not even deny or reverberate, right? Because reverberate might be a 1 cost. And then they're leaving Crucible plus 1 cost up on this. It's a hard call. You just don't know what Berserk's going to do, because I could easily also pitch Tear Limb from Limb, and then we just go Wild Ride, maybe discard the Beast Within, swing that route. I mean, we're here to test it, right? So I'm more inclined to just, let's play out Berserk. Let's just do it. Because it should also turn on Graveling Growl, right? If it hits. Jesus, if. Watch that just go to shit. We play out the Berserk. Wild Ride, draws, discards a miss. You know it. You absolutely know it's going to happen. Or we discard Beast Within and we go nuts. And we draw 2 cards. Oh, we discarded a Skullcrack. Not bad. Not bad. And Berserk did draw us a card. Sweet. And now we get to Claw Graveling. Sweet. Alright, so once again, all Berserk did there was turn on Graveling Growl, basically. And if that's all you're going to do, then, like, wouldn't you rather spend that 1 resource on, like, Unworldly Bellow? Right? Like, that's all it's doing. You're literally spending 1 resource, the card's cycling, and it's just saying turn on Graveling Growl. So I would rather Unworldly Bellow. That's interesting. Alright, so they're definitely not pushing lethal because, you know, they don't have it. Yeah, Berserk, yellow Unworldly. Let's go. No, but it's actually not even yellow Unworldly because it doesn't give +3 damage. So it's just worse, right? Like, it just is. I also way prefer this in Arsenal, though. This is quite the cycle up. To be able to throw this turn into 16 damage turn into Dread Screamer in Arsenal. That's some threat density, baby. That's the good stuff. Alright, if we don't present lethal next turn, I don't know what we're doing. Alright, we're not presenting lethal next turn. His hand's a little clunked. Well, I mean, we still could, right? Just Dread Screamer. Aether. They're doing it again? Okay, so they're not setting up Arsenal, so this should make me feel good about being able to just play without fear of combo. What does this one do again? It deals that much arcane plus X, where X is the dealt damage, so this basically goes to 4. So if I prevent 1 here, I'm basically turning a red into a yellow. No, because I'd rather put the Boneyard in Arsenal. It's a little rough. I'm just eating 5 free damage. But it's fine in the end. They're still a few turns away from actually setting up the combo. Well, 1 turn. They could also just rip it. That'd be awful. Oh, if I had a yellow, I would actually just turn on Hooves and just go Dread, Graveling, Graveling. Like, why not? Ugh. Okay, they're slowing down, though. They're slowing down. All they need is that 1 card in Arsenal, though, and I'm going to be terrified. So we're pretty much terrified. Okay, this is a good start. Random draws for them, and a really good hand for us. I feel like if you can't beat Wizard with a deck that's like all the non-blocks, then something's just inherently wrong, right? Because like you're adding these cards that should have the downside of just not being able to block. That is just a choice you do not have. Then all of a sudden in this matchup, you can't block anyway. So if you're not winning this matchup, I think something's just like really wrong with your play. Or they got insanely lucky. We have to say that because we still might lose. So I have to just also throw that out there. Kano could also just have the juice. And we did stumble. We had 2 pretty weak turns. on just missing resources. But then also 2 pretty good turns. No blood rush yet. No blood rush yet. Berserk crack helmet wild ride? Would that have... Okay, so that was before they healed 2. So if that would have converted to 5... Oh, Hades box. Oh, come... Michael Hamilton, are you for serious? You hadn't subbed yet, Michael Hamilton? That's a straight call out, my friend. That's a... Andrew became a... Wait, is this... Are League members subscribers, or are they the chat thing? I don't know how I have it set up. Okay, I don't know what's coming through now. I think these are all the people who actually are, like, getting their channel membership back. Okay, I take it back, Michael Hamilton. No hate towards you. Lag. Okay. Well. We'll say go again. We'll say banish. See what they do. Okay. So I'm more inclined here to... We'll think about hooves this turn. I think we'll banish the pulping, because we'll likely be able to just, with the cost of Marauder, go attack Marauder. I don't want to get rid of Mark the Beast in case we resource clump. So we'll get rid of that. Oh. Yes, we will now blood rush. Yes. So, okay, cost is paid there. This is great. We're going to turn this on just in case. If they're forced to go for combo here, we have the most we could ever hope to have, which is 3 AB and Spell Fray. Okay, they didn't do it. Okay, this turn is pretty nuts. We're going to lead with the Boneyard Marauder, because it has go again. So let's just get that out of here. Withhold some information. Doesn't necessarily mean we waste damage on claws. Because if we really want to, our turn can be claw, into... Wait, no, it can't. Our turn can't be claw into dread. It can be claw into, like, dread. Float 1. It could also just be claw. Not awful. But we'll see how they block. We want to make them commit to blocking on this exact attack because it is lethal presented, even through their equipment. So they can't just throw a Tunic and then make us spend more resources. They have to interact on this attack specifically. Big brain. This is how you beat the 2D kings. You have bigger brains, pumped full of dreams of Blasphemfet, of Ichor and Bile. Oh yes, the juicy stuff. Okay, so we know that they're not going for it, so we win. Tarek, pummel. Hey, enjoy that emote, my friend. It's for you, literally for you. Yep, so now we win. Easy, GG. All right, this was a quick 3-0 with Berserk Levia that I posted deck tech about, so that's some reality for you right there. Take my deck and you'll freaking 3-0 your way to the top of PQs. Easy. Look at this game time. Not a single game took like over 5 minutes, I don't think. And every game was like maybe 4 or 5 turns. Makes me question it, you know? Which deck do I take? Recursion? Aggro? It's a tough call. Tough call. But I do have to go. I have to cook dinner because timing's weird now. It's like 7 p.m. my time. I think I can switch things to maybe stream earlier in the day, but I need to sort all that out after some deadlines coming up. So, ugh. But hey, that's going to be it for the stream today. Thank you all for tuning in. And I really want to try to keep doing this more. And I'll definitely come back to at least share the news, the LSS news coming tonight. So maybe like one more stream this week. Anyway, how'd this deck look in Blitz? That's a good question. I imagine here, okay, we can wrap up the stream with this. I find it easier to build decks on FabDB. So, apologies, Fabruary, I love you. Is this the good one? Oh, no, we don't look at this. That's Bingo Levia. We don't want to see that. Where's my World's Levia? Hyper Levia? I think this is it. There's so many Levias. What the heck? Okay, let's edit whatever this abomination is. And this will pretty much be what I would suggest. Alright, spell fray. I never know where these ideas came from. Maybe it was a good night. Maybe it was a bit of a meme. You're never quite sure. Alright, so we'll do this. That'll be good for the equipment suite. Right? What else would we need? As you could take Skull Crushers in this last slot instead of Goliath. Okay, is there a space there? One thing you can always swap around though with this kind of deal is if you want against Iyslander, if you're trying to just make the game really as short as possible, you can move the Arcane Lantern as your AB3 piece. Move into one Arcane Lantern, one Mandible Claw, and then run Goliath Gauntlet in your hooves, or in your next to your hooves. So that might be slightly better, but we'll leave it at this for now. With Berserk, you absolutely want Savage Feast, Pulping, Wild Ride, and Bear Fangs. I don't think we have Bear Fangs in this. Let's put Bear Fangs in here. Let's add Tear Limb from Limb. Cards Gas. There he is. You don't want this. We are trying to abuse the Berserk trigger, which means we want the Gravelings, the Mark of the Beast. Don't know why those are in there. I mean, this is probably it. I don't know. It's something like this. I would start looking. So here you go. That'd be the Blitz version of this list, I think. At least where I'd start, right? Alright, that's gonna be it. Good night, everyone. Good night.